Hello everybody, and welcome to NorCal Slot Car Scene. Last year, I did a review on the DiFalco 1/32 scale slot car controller. I'm still using that controller now, and it serves me extremely well. The one thing I didn't care for on the DiFalco controller was the feel of the trigger. Fortunately, DiFalco offers two optional triggers that you can replace on your controller. When my friend Nate Katz noticed that I'd changed my trigger, he asked me if I could do the same for him, but with the two-finger option that DiFalco also makes. The first step in the process is to disassemble the controller. To do this, make sure the controller is orientated so that the wiper board is facing you, and remove the 3 screws from the handle. The top 2 screws come directly out of the mainframe, so there's no nut behind them as in most controllers. The bottom screw, however, does have a nut behind it, so make sure you don't lose that during the disassembly process. The next step is to remove the controller spring from the trigger in the mainframe. To do this, simply grab the spring with your fingers and pull up on the left side post, and then remove it from the trigger assembly itself. The trigger is held in place by a nut and a bolt. Grab the bolt with your pliers and then unscrew it with a screwdriver from the opposite side. When you're done, gently pry the trigger assembly off of the mainframe. Remove the 2 bearings from the trigger and set them aside. The final part of the disassembly process is to remove the 2 screws from the wiper arm and separate the wiper arm from the trigger. Now remove the trigger from the channel that's attached to the braid. Here is the disassembled wiper arm and trigger. Make absolutely certain you keep the red washer. If you reassemble the controller without that washer, the controller will not work. Now it's time to gather all the parts, including the new trigger, and reassemble the controller. Insert the wiper arm in the trigger and then install both bearings. Bolt the wiper arm in place with the self-tapping screw on the left side of the picture and the bolt, nut, and don't forget the washer on the right side in the picture. Before we put the trigger assembly back onto the controller, make sure the standoff that the ball bearings ride on is tight with the screw in the controller. Insert the trigger assembly back over the standoff, make sure everything is free and nothing is binding, and then reinstall the nut by hand. Don't tighten it just yet. At this point in the assembly, the trigger should look something like this. To finish this step, hold the bolt with a screwdriver and turn the nut to take out the excessive play in the assembly. Once you're done, double check and make sure the trigger assembly moves freely on the shaft. Now it's time to replace the spring on the trigger assembly and reassemble the handle into the controller, and we're done. After making this conversion for Nate's controller, I really like the feel of it, even though I'm not a 2-finger driver, and I may do this conversion for my own controller. Thanks for watching. This is Jim Rose with NorCal Slot Car Scene.